We got the NBA playoffs. Yeah, there we go. We can talk about the NBA for a little bit. We got round 2 of the NBA playoffs. A lot of upsets happened in round 1. A lot of non-surprises happened as well, right? I was expecting the Lakers to end the run just as they are. For instance, like the Spurs and Minnesota Timberwolves matchup is, in my opinion, a good matchup because the key matchup for that is the big guys, right? You got Wembanyama and you got Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert is a good center, right? He's not a super scorer, but he's great at defense and he's really good at grabbing those rebounds. So it's going to be more challenging for Victor Wembanyama to try and control the paint with a bigger center who can move him around a little bit, right? Like Victor Wembanyama's got the height for sure, but when you weigh the two, Victor Wembanyama versus Rudy Gobert, even though there's about 3 to 4 inches, maybe 5 inches difference on height, the weight isn't that much off because of how thin Victor Wembanyama is, right? So if you're a big, strong, solid man, you could move big ass Victor Wembanyama around with no problem. Like I could imagine Victor trying to go against Shaquille O'Neal, right? Can you imagine Wemby trying to back down Shaquille O'Neal and Shaquille O'Neal just like, no, son, I ain't letting you move. You ain't getting in here, son. You ain't getting right. Victor, he'd have to learn how to do some spin moves or something to get to the basket because you put a man big enough down in that paint, and it takes away a lot of the strength of Victor Wembanyama. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rudy Gobert can do in that department. We also have Anthony Edwards, right? He's been having some somewhat of health issues, but he's making it a point to be a leader, right? He's trying to step up in that leadership role. He's trying to get in that game time. And they've been giving it to him. I think I underestimated the Knicks because last year, even though they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, they hadn't been there in so long that I forgot that they had went there, right? Like I remember that they lost to Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. But more importantly from last year, I remember the Pacers losing to the Thunder more than I remember the Knicks losing to the Pacers. So for that reason, I overlooked and slept on the Knicks. I'm sure a lot of people made that mistake. And now the Knicks are back in it, banging it out, and it looks like they are on a strong run to make it to the finals. I think that I hate to say this because I'm a Laker fan. As much as I would love to see the Lakers beat the Oklahoma City Thunders, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't see it happening. Like, the OKC is just too much of a complete team. They have every facet of a team in basketball that you need. They got a dominant center that nowadays can shoot and pop for the three. They got a great point guard. They got a good small forward. Even their small forward, Williams, is on the bench. They still got a backup for him, right? They got experience. And although Austin Reeves has some experience in the playoffs and LeBron has tons of experience, the rest of the team kind of not so much, right? You got Luka out, and that sucks, but I can't see us beating them because I don't see us with a big man who could dominate in the paint, right? Like, especially with I saw a video. I didn't see the injury of the guy's finger poking through the bone poking through his finger, but Vanderbilt or Vanderbleet, right? Oh man, he's the power forward guy. I can't remember. It's Vanderbilt or something like that. I could look it up later and give you a picture of him. But apparently he got an injury and his bone went through his finger or something. So my point is though, is we need a big man, right, down in that paint. We need we need a Giannis, right? But we need a big man down in that paint to replace LeBron James. In my opinion, that's what's holding us back the most is LeBron James. It's not that he's not a great player. It's just that he's not as dominant as he used to be. And he's one of the biggest guys on our team. And we need a dominant big man in order to compete against these other teams who can not just move back and forth up and down the court, but has the strength and stamina to last. At least, like 16 to 20 minutes, right? Should be the time for an average center or power forward to make a point. And LeBron James can do that still, but he's not doing it as consistently as he used to 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? Let alone 20 years ago, right? The guy's been balling for so long. So I think if we got somebody in there who can be a good asset to a Luka and an Austin Reeves as far as a big man, we'll be right back in the finals, right? If we could get somebody like a Giannis to take over, or even like I would think of Scotty Barnes, but even then we would need like a bigger center to back him up. We need one of those super dominant power forwards that could play center position. And if you have to, you could drop him down to a small forward, right? Even if we had this somebody who was the same as LeBron James, just 15 years younger, right? Or even 10 years younger. And we'll be right back in it, right? If we had a Pablo Banchero, right? Laker fans, can you imagine if we had Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and Pablo Banchero, right? And then you could just throw any other center out there, right? Like with a Holmgren, somehow we get Holmgren for like, like, I don't know. You get where I'm going though, right? Like we need to start looking for that replacement for LeBron. And I love LeBron, but for the generation that he came from, he really is the last big man, right? To like play his position. I think that's why LeBron James has been so dominant in the NBA, was because he came from the last generation of, if you played a big position, you had to be a big, strong guy, right? So when LeBron James goes against these teams where he's the biggest guy on the court and he's playing at a small forward position, that's weird sometimes, right? Because you think of back in like the 90s, right? Like LeBron James would have been an average size for a small forward or a power forward, right? He might have been a little bit more muscular, but he's fitting in there right alongside with the Robert Ory's and the Kevin Garnett's. And, like, can you imagine LeBron James trying to go and defend a Kevin Garnett, or, get past a Kevin Garnett? Like, I couldn't see that. Or like Kenyon Martin, right? It's just Kendrick Perkins, right? A generation of big meaty dudes down there, not letting dudes just do whatever they want, right? And LeBron James got in the generation after that, and because of that, he's been so dominant, and he's been able to dominate for a long time because he hasn't had too many challenges of people bigger than him putting him in his place and checking him, right? Like, I don't think that LeBron James had too many matchups defensively that would like really push him. Like offensively, there's been tons of matchups, right? Like LeBron James's greatest comparison could probably be with Carmelo Anthony, right? Like they came in at the same time. They both had the biggest hype at the time, or maybe even a D Wade at that time too, right? But if you were to put Carmelo Anthony up against LeBron James, it wouldn't be like a defensive battle, right? Like it would be between like a MJ and a Kobe, even though they were different generations. It would be an offensive game, right? Who's scoring the most points, Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James, right? And so that's what I mean when I say like LeBron James is great. I don't think he's a GOAT though, because he's one of the bigger players and there aren't too many people as big as him, right? I guess I'm just one of those old heads that's like, if you put him back in the generations where we were watching, because he's just a couple years younger than I am, all right? Like he's 41, I'm 43, about to be 44. So we're the same generation, right? Like we've been watching the same guys who were banging it out when we were coming up in high school. He saw the Kendrick Perkins out there putting it down and the Kevin Garnett's. He probably tried to emulate that to an extent, right? And he took that size and he's dominated for 20 years, right? And he is the king of this generation, but in my opinion, he's not the GOAT. If he were the GOAT, he'd figure out a way to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. So this is the greatest test for LeBron James to cement his legacy as a GOAT. If he could somehow beat the defending NBA champions, with just one star to help him out, and Austin Reeves, then yes, he is the greatest player of all time for this generation. And I hope he does it, right? Because he's a Laker and I want to see the Lakers win. If he were on any other team, I would not care about LeBron James at all, right? Like, will be the game 7, in my opinion. I think this one's going to be those young, up and coming future talents battling it out as hard as they can to get to the Western Conference Finals, where they will have a chance to try and beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think the Spurs probably have the best chance. But we will see as the time unwinds and gets there, right? Um, Other things we got going on, we got some wrestling stuff.